Welcome to Crypta Librorum, the hidden library where fear tells its tales. Let's open today's page and find out what fear has in store for us. You wake up at 3 a.m. to use the bathroom. The house is dark, and even though you know exactly where everything is, even though nothing has changed when you went to bed, something feels different. You move slower. Your heart beats a little faster. You immediately jump to that fake ninja pose. That hallway you've walked through 100 of times today suddenly feels longer. What changed? Nothing. Except you're not really sure about it because you can't see to the end. And somehow that's enough to make it scary. I've been thinking about why darkness, for example, bothers us so much. Not because it's actually more or less dangerous. Your bedroom at 3 a.m. isn't suddenly full of threats that weren't there at 3 p.m. Same room, same furniture, same everything. But when you can't see it, your brain loses most of its information. And your brain really hates that. Think about the last time you heard a sound you couldn't identify. Maybe a creak in your house, a noise outside, something that made you stop and listen. That moment before you figure out what made that sound, that's when your heart speeds up. Not after you know it's the house settling or that cat knocking something over. It's before you know it. And that's the point. The uncertainty is the scary part. Most fears have this in common. They're not really about what you know, they're about what you don't know. Waiting for test results? Worse than getting bad news. Because bad news, you can deal with it, make a plan, take an action, fight for it. But waiting? You're stuck. Being stuck is not a position that our brain enjoys. Sending an important email and getting no response. Your brain doesn't think, well, you know what, they're probably busy. It goes straight to, they hate it. They're ignoring me. Oh my god, I screwed up. Walking into a room where everyone stops talking, immediately wondering if they were talking about you. Don't get me wrong, there is always the chance that they were actually talking about you, but you have zero actual information in any of those situations. But your brain fills that gap with a threat. Psychologists have spent decades studying why people get anxious. And one thing that keeps showing up across different types of anxiety, people who struggle with anxiety also struggle with uncertainty. Not knowing what's going to happen, not having enough information, being in situations where outcomes are unclear. That common thread runs through generalized anxiety, panic disorder, OCD, social anxiety, different symptoms, same underlying discomfort with the unknown. For most of human history, missing information could possibly get you killed. A rustling in the bushes could be wind, could be an animal you can hunt, or could be something or someone hunting you. Not knowing which means you can't decide what to do. So, Humans evolved to pay attention to uncertainty, to treat gaps of information as potential danger. Better to be wrong 100 times about harmless unknowns than to be relaxed about that one time that's actually dangerous. We don't face those kind of threats anymore, though. Most of us aren't worried about predators, but we inherited that specific nervous system. That is why a dark hallway in your safe house can still trigger an alert response. Why waiting for a text back can make you anxious. Why not knowing what someone thinks of you feels threatening, even though it's not actually dangerous. Your threat detection system, as we told before, does not distinguish between this could kill me and this is uncomfortable because I don't know what's happening. It just flags missing information as something to worry about. Some people handle uncertainty better than others. You and your friend are both waiting for the same kind of news. Maybe job interview results, maybe medical tests, something important where you don't know the outcome yet. Your friend seems fine. He says things like, "He'll come when it comes." And you know what? They can focus on other things. They can even sleep normally. They can function. You, on the other hand, can't stop thinking about it. You can't concentrate. You keep checking your phone. You keep asking around. You're running through every possible outcome in your head. Same situation, same lack of information, completely different responses. Now, that difference shows up in research. When psychologists measure how people respond to ambiguous situations, some people stay relatively calm. Others show increased heart rate, blood pressure changes, stress responses. And the people who have a harder time with uncertainty tend to score higher on anxiety measures overall. It's not that they face more stressful situations, it's that they interpret more situations as stressful when the outcome is unclear. Now, this is not actually a problem. It is just how you're wired. But this becomes a real problem when the need for certainty starts controlling your choices. You want to change careers, but you can't guarantee the new path will still work out. So you stay in a job that makes you miserable, scared, sad, because at least you know what to expect. You need to have a difficult conversation, but you can't predict how the other person will react. So you avoid it. You let the issue build and build, making everything worse at the end by trying to avoid uncertainty. You want to try something new, but you can't be certain you'll succeed, so you don't try. The fear isn't really of failure. It's of not knowing whether you'll fail or succeed. That gap itself becomes the barrier, and ironically, trying to eliminate uncertainty often makes life smaller. You stick to what's predictable, avoid anything that contains unknowns, miss opportunities because they are not guaranteed. When people can't handle uncertainty, they develop ways to cope. Seeking constant reassurance like, "Are you sure? Are you really sure? Do you promise? Pinky promise?" Asking the same question multiple times because the first answer didn't feel certain enough. Creating rigid routines. Same schedule every day, same order, same route to go to work, same route to come back to house. Because routine eliminates variables. Fewer unknowns to navigate. Avoiding anything ambiguous. If you can't predict the outcome, don't do it. Better to miss out than face the discomfort of not knowing. No. I've noticed this in myself. When I'm stressed, I need to know exactly what's happening and when. I'll check my schedule obsessively, confirm plans multiple times, get anxious if something becomes uncertain. It's not really about the plans, it's about the feeling of not having control over what's coming. But you can't control everything. I would even dare to say anything. Life contains uncertainty. Trying to eliminate it completely is impossible. And the tighter you try to hold on to certainty, the more stressed you become when everything or anything unpredictable happens. When psychologists treat anxiety disorders, one thing they often work on is building tolerance for uncertainty, gradually, in small doses. Intentionally facing situations where you don't know the outcome. Now, if you yourself know that you need actual help, maybe you should seek advice from people that they know what they're talking about and not a YouTube channel. But let's continue. Usually, facing situations where you don't know the outcome, if you do it gradually, it helps. When people get better at sitting with not knowing, their anxiety symptoms tend to improve. Those two are kind of connected. For example, you can make a plan without confirming it over and over. Send a message and do not immediately check for a response. Practice letting that gap exist. Make a decision without having every piece of information. Notice that you can function with imperfect knowledge. This does not make uncertainty comfortable, far from it. It only makes it tolerable. You learn through experiences that not knowing isn't the same as being in danger, that you can handle ambiguity without falling apart. The goal is not to love uncertainty, no. It's to be able to move forward despite it. Not fight it, just move along it if you like. Everything meaningful in life contains uncertainty. Every relationship could fail. Every project could go wrong. Every opportunity could lead nowhere. Every decision could be the wrong one. You can't have certainty and possibility at the same time. They're complete opposites. If you demand guaranteed outcomes before trying anything, you immediately eliminate every path that isn't predictable, and nothing interesting is predictable. The things in my life that mattered most happened because I moved forward without knowing how they turn out. Relationships that could have failed, projects that might not have worked, decisions made with incomplete information. Hell, if I thought about it, really thought about it, I would never start this YouTube channel. If I'd waited for certainty, none of them would have happened. Now, does it mean that everything I did was successful? Oh no, far from it. But I took the chance, and by taking the chance and failing, you learn what you did wrong. So next time you can improve, you can learn more, you can study, you can figure out what the trouble was, or what the problem was, or maybe whose fault was it. All those things are information that will help you overcome other fears that always run in the background of our minds. But never taking the chance because you want certainty, that is something that you have to learn to live with. You have to learn to live with uncertainty. Fear of the unknown isn't some abstract concept. It's a real response that affects how you make decisions and move through the world. Some people handle it better than others, and some research shows that people who struggle with uncertainty also tend to struggle with anxiety, because those two are deeply connected. But you can get better at it through practice, through gradually, one bit, small bit at a time, exposing yourself to a situation where you don't have all the answers. You have to ease yourself into it, not push through, not fight through. Fear, as I said before and I will continue to say, is not something that we need to conquer. That is a false premise that somehow entered our collective unconscious. Fear is a friend of ours. You just have to learn to use it as your protector, as your weapon, as your shield. Fear has so many forms that can actually protect you for all those many dangers. But you have to understand, fear is just the alarm. Fear is just the, hey, mate, there's something wrong going on here. That's fear. You don't have to fight that. You don't have to oppose it. You have to embrace it, understand what it says, why you're scared, for example, and figure out the solution for it. And don't get me wrong, you don't have to figure it on your own. There are plenty of people out there to help you. And if you feel that you need a little more specific help, there are plenty of people out there to help you. Next time you feel that familiar anxiety about something uncertain, ask yourself whether you're responding to actual danger or just the gap of information. Knowing the difference helps you tell useful signals from noise. Life is uncertain, and that is not a flaw. That is just a condition. The question is whether you let that stop you or motivate you to move forward. Until next time. If you made it this far, thank you. You're helping keep the light on for everyone still afraid of the dark. Subscribe, share the story, and I'll see you in the next chapter.